So the January 10th, 2020 episode of SmackDown's in the books. All in all, I've got to say, just whatever episode of SmackDown. Like, it definitely was better than last week. Last week's SmackDown episode was horrendous trash. If people defend that, then clearly they're blinded by the fact that Sheamus, Morrison, and the Usos returned, because last week's episode sucked. This week's episode, it wasn't horrible. There was some redeemable stuff on there, mainly Mandy Rose and Otis. That's actually genuinely entertaining, which is pretty sad when that's the best part of your show. So the stuff Mandy and Otis did tonight, I really liked. And then the Daniel Bryan and Fiend stuff, as always, I found entertaining. So those are the redeemable qualities about this show. Those are the things that were worth watching. But literally all of that was like backstage stuff. Like the stuff we got in the ring tonight, I just couldn't care less for. Like genuinely, I don't despise any of the stuff that's happening. I just don't care, which is the worst place for the WWE to be in. It's like an apathetic zone where I just don't care. Like, for example, with this John Morrison and the Miz stuff to open the show. Like, they do this to open the show. Miz TV, Miz comes out. He does his, he says that, he had a bad day last week and whatnot. Brings out John Morrison. Morrison's entrance was cool to see, but it wasn't in slow-mo. Morrison's entrance used to be like that. So, that was disappointing. They go back and forth for a little bit. It was fine. I didn't really care that much. Morrison says that Miz has apparently been working harder than anyone else for 15 years, which is the same thing Miz done backstage, and I was just cringing this whole time. I just didn't care. Pretty much, they blame the fans as to why they're heels, pretty much. Morrison starts ranting about the fans. He calls one random fan a douchebag, and I was like, okay, it's completely uncalled for. New Day come out. Kofi's got a giant plate of pancakes again for no reason. Miz says that he respects Kofi held the WWE title for 6 months, but finds it laughable that it took him 6 seconds to lose it. So I got a laugh there. Kofi points out the change in Miz as of late, and they set up a match. Coming up next, Miz versus Kofi Kingston. So right there, I knew that I just wouldn't care for this episode of SmackDown. Really, I just couldn't care less. Miz versus Kofi. I said this last week, this match, if you have the 2010s of WWE mid-card in one match, it's Miz vs. Kofi. These two guys just flounder in the mid-card. I couldn't care less. Miz vs. Kofi on a random SmackDown. I had this on, I just didn't care. You're definitely not getting a move-by-move for this match, so, honestly, the match itself, it wasn't, that bad, but as I said, we've seen it so many times, just didn't care. Watching the Miz wrestle is just frustrating because everything he does looks so just fake and doesn't hurt. For example, Miz, Kofi's in the corner. Miz does these running knees into Kofi in the corner, and it literally, you can see how fake it looks. It looks dreadful. The Miz is just a terrible wrestler in the ring, and Kofi, did he get a great match out of the Miz here? Not really. It was a whatever match. Basically, the ending with this, Big E and Morrison were on commentary initially. After a mid-match commercial, they were at ringside. So Miz is getting in the face of Big E. They're talking. And then John Morrison, he runs onto the steel steps and does this cannonball move onto Big E, which you could barely see because the cameras were looking at Big E. So you barely saw Morrison. So you could pretty much not tell what was happening. They had to show 3 replays and we actually see what they did. So that was botched. And then they had, the Miz, he got into the ring. Kofi was all distracted by Big E being knocked down. Miz hits skull-crushing finale on Kofi, 1, 2, 3. So the Miz wins. Whatever, That was the thing. Most of the stuff that happened in the ring tonight, I was just whatever. I don't really care. So we got that. Then we went to the Firefly Funhouse, which I found this funny. Wyatt tells us that he loves us and says that he's feeling good. He says that love feels so special, and the opposite of love is the way he feels about Daniel Bryan. So that was really good. They do these cool flashbacks with 2014 and 2019, which were good, between Bryan and Wyatt. And then Wyatt closes by saying, which I found this great, I love you all, but not you, Daniel. Bye. So that cracked me up, and that's how they ended this little bit of the show. From here we go to Elias singing, which, Elias is pretty over with the crowd, and his songs are entertaining because Elias has charisma. But yet again, they've ruined Elias over the last 2 years to a point where he's irredeemable in my eyes. Nothing they do with Elias will make me care. Which, they've done that with so many talents. More on that kind of thing later. But yeah, he's singing this song. He mentions Brock Lesnar, saying that, how Brock said the whole roster's unworthy. And then Elias is like, well, you don't show up to work. I'm like, if Brock did show up to work, what would Brock do? Would he have matches with not Finn Balor, Sami Zayn? Would Brock have matches with all these indie midgets? Like, come on. So, yeah, Elias did that song. It was alright. We move on. Backstage, we have Sonya Deville telling Mandy Rose how she's excited to be in her corner for the match. Like, her acting was dreadful. She was so excited and happy for standing in the corner of Mandy Rose in her big match versus Alexa Bliss. So, we got that. Deville leaves and Mandy pulls out this box. She looks in it and smiles. So, that's what we got there. From then, after a commercial, we go backstage again. Mandy Rose has the cake box. It's this cake in the box, obviously. She has the box. She goes over to Otis, who's with Tucker. Pretty much, he apologizes for what happened with Ziggler stepping on Otis's mother's cake. And then so Mandy offers Otis the box. Otis opens up the box and there's an I'm sorry cake in there. And you heard a big aww from the crowd. So that was great. I love the stuff with these two. It's just the most entertaining part of the show, alongside Wyatt and Bryan. Everything else on SmackDown might as well just not even happen in my eyes. But anyway, we roll on. Singles match, Mandy Rose with Deville in her corner, taking on Alexa Bliss with Nikki Cross in her corner. I imagine exactly what's happening backstage in Gorilla during this match. A bit of 18 plus action, but I didn't even care about the in-ring action. Basically, all that happened was Alexa was in control of Mandy, and then Heavy Machinery's music hit. Otis came out eating the cake alongside Tucker. Tucker was like, no, Otis, don't do this. And meanwhile, Mandy gets the roll-up on Alexa, 1, 2, 3. So Alexa loses, Mandy gets the W. And then after the match, this was probably the best part of the show in my opinion, we had Otis grabbing handfuls of cake, shoving it in his mouth as he's gyrating. And I was pissing myself laughing watching that. Mandy was loving that too, so that was great. And then literally the rest of the show from here, I just couldn't care less about. Outside of 3 minutes worth of Bryan Fiend segments, this show was just redundant to me. So we go Lacey Evans, she comes out for her quote-unquote match with Sasha Banks. Pretty much, she's supposed to fight Sasha. During Sasha's quote-unquote entrance, Bayley comes on the Titantron, says that Sasha's not here tonight, and Bayley herself is contractually obligated to defend her title at the Royal Rumble, so she'll face Lacey Evans. Lacey cuts another one of these in-ring promos about how she does things right, how she's a great mother, how the military is important to her. This same promo week after week. And then Lacey runs backstage because Bayley mentions motherhood, and then Bayley jumps Lacey, hits her once, then walks off thinking everything's done. So idiotic heel move, and then Lacey just jumps Bayley, beats her up, and makes her look like a clown. So that was all we got there. Didn't really care. From here, we go to a Fiend Bryan recap, and then Daniel Bryan backstage being interviewed. Bryan says that he remembers everything with Bray and the Wyatt family from 2014. Bryan says that the Fiend has changed him for the better, and he feels great because of it. He says that he's excited. Then the Titantron, a screen behind him comes up, and this Rugby Rabbit says the secret to beat the Fiend is Bray Wyatt covers the rabbit's mouth, and then that's the end of the segment. So that was really good. And then we go to Braun Strowman versus Shinsuke Nakamura. During this match, all I was thinking, I just had this moment where I'm like, I could not care any less. Shinsuke, Sami Zayn, Cesaro. I've got my takeover video that's going to come out tomorrow. I've done so much talking about all the great things these guys did in NXT. So to see them here, they could not feel any more relevant. They're just, the IC title, Shinsuke, Sami, Cesaro, they're just dead and buried. Because they just lose every week. There's no interest in them. There's no storyline. There's no character. Here, Zayn and Cesaro were messing around, interfering every 2 seconds. Braun Strowman just hits the power slam on Nakamura and wins. So, whatever. Strowman will win the IC title at the Rumble, I'm sure. I could not care any less. So, we roll on. Sheamus then does one of his little promos. He begins the promo by saying, quote-unquote, rise over size. And I immediately just knew what this would be. This would be Sheamus making fun of Chad Gable and making sexual innuendos. So basically, Sheamus says that size does matter, and he's back to SmackDown to take the Promised Land back. So that's all we got there. From here, Daniel Bryan backstage finds a present, and it's the rabbit, and half of its head's cut off. So that's good. From here, Roman Reigns comes out. He got a pretty good reaction. The Usos come out, so they cut this promo. This was basically your usual, the same thing we got in 2015, back when they were doing this, the family type thing with Reigns and the Usos. Basically just their brothers, King, or quote-unquote Queen Corbin and his kingdom disrespected Roman Reigns with the dog food. So now the Uso Brotherhood is here to take Roman Reigns back and really save Reigns and all this, and they're brothers and Samoan family. I don't care. This is overplayed. this whole family respect thing, it's all the company can book. Like, it's, we've been there, done that with this kind of thing so many times, so that's all we got there. Then they did the main event match, tag team match, the Usos against Dolph Ziggler and King Corbin. To say I couldn't care less would be an understatement. Like, I'm watching this match, I'm just waiting to get this review out and go to sleep. Okay? I've spent literally most of the day editing this Takeover Memories video, which is 2 hours and 20 minutes long. You guys should get a kick out of it. It's a great video. So, that'll be good. Anyway, this tag team main event, it was alright for what it was. So what they did, they had like the tag team match, and then within like 6 minutes of it happening, we got the Revival coming down, making a big distraction, interfering. Reigns, who was in the ring for the Usos promo, but for some reason gone backstage, made his big dramatic entrance for a second time, and then did like this double Superman punch, he did like one Superman punch, that took down both Revival guys somehow. God knows how that happened. So yeah, that went to commercial mid-match, came back from commercial, the match continued for like 5 more minutes. In the end, well, I mean, it's a SmackDown main event. What do you think happened? It just became a free-for-all chaos. We got no winner here. Basically, like, Corbin tossed, or it might have been Ziggler. I was barely watching this point, guys. I think you can forgive me for that. Basically, one Uso and Reigns, like, got tossed into Reigns. From here, Corbin was like at ringside. Reigns just came and just speared him on the floor. So it was a DQ, match thrown out. Reigns, he's like beating up Corbin. And then Robert Roode comes back. So clearly suspension over Robert Roode. Roode comes back. They get Roman Reigns. Like, Roode hits the spine buster to Reigns on the announce table. Ziggler hits an elbow drop to Reigns on the announce table. Corbin's like holding Reigns like as both Usos are on the ground. And it's like, look at your family now. And then they end the show with the heels standing tall. So that was SmackDown. Really just an absolute nothing show tonight. Like, yes, as I said before, it was better than last week, but was it a great show that you need to go and watch? Hell nah. Heading into the Royal Rumble, what do I have to look forward to from the SmackDown end? The Fiend and Daniel Bryan for the Universal Championship, yes. Outside of that, like Lacey Evans and Bayley for the Women's Championship, I couldn't care less for. Shinsuke Nakamura and Braun Strowman, you couldn't even pay me to care. That's how little I care about that. Looks like they're building towards The Miz and John Morrison against the New Day, which should be a fun little tag match come the pay-per-view, but how they're booking at the moment, I don't really care for. And is that it on SmackDown? That's all they're doing the stuff with Sheamus and Shorty G. Sheamus is great, but I don't really care for that either. It's just having Sheamus saying rise over size, and size does matter. Just typical Vince McMahon, PP humor. And the stuff in the main event with Roman Reigns, Baron Corbin, the Usos, Roode and Ziggler, like, I was over that in October. Like, ever since Reigns started that feud with Corbin, I was over it. It's still continuing now, so couldn't care less. And yeah, I mean, that was SmackDown. Out of what we got in the 2 hours tonight, I'd say go out and watch. If you want to watch Morrison's entrance, yes. If you want to watch the Mandy Rose, Otis stuff, yes. If you want to watch the Fiend and Bryan segments, yes. But literally, you're missing nothing if you just miss the show. So overall, I give this show as a rating. That's E plus or a D minus, maybe a D. I don't know. I'm gonna say D minus, just because it was very skippable. Actually, no. I'm gonna give it a D. I'm giving it a D. I'm going with a D, guys. So we're giving the SmackDown a D overall, and that's the review. So look out tomorrow for the NXT Takeover Memories video. That's a big upload, which it's gonna take forever to get onto YouTube. But yeah, look out for that video. I've got a little bit more of it to edit after this, and then I'll post it, so that'll be sick. And then we've got the TakeOver UK Blackpool 2 show to review. And then we've got also TNA Hard to Kill. I'm going to talk about Tessa Blanchard and Sami Callihan for the world title. And then we've got Raw next week and some other topical uploads. So hope you guys are enjoying the content. Be sure to like, comment, and sub. You guys know the drill. See ya.